I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime, and this is Currents. It may be the summer, but should people be packing heat in church?
Places of worship have always been regarded, I think, as sanctuaries where violence was kept out.
It's not a debate, but debate is the subject we'll discuss with Bishop DiMarzio as we go into the deep.
But we wanted an opportunity, like everybody else has, in their democracy, to be able to present what we believe to be true.
And 6 months after the earthquake, a Haitian soccer team is still competing with an assist from an opponent.
Well, good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. You know, when you're getting ready for church, there's a couple of things that you do. You put on a nice shirt, maybe a jacket and tie, or a dress, or a pantsuit, something. But how about loading your gun?
Not me, but in at least one state, it is legal to bring a gun to church. Earlier this month, Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal signed a bill to allow it. And
now there's a push to do the same thing in another southern state. To carry or not to carry? That's the central question in a case heading to Georgia courts in the coming months. The state legislature recently revisited a law that prohibited people from carrying firearms to various institutions, including churches and church functions, a holdover from the Jim Crow era intended to disarm African Americans. While the law was recently amended, it still bans guns from places of worship, a move that prompted Pastor Jonathan Wilkins of the Baptist Tabernacle Church of Thomaston, Georgia, and attorney John Monroe of GeorgiaCarry.org to file suit against the state.
Why would you want the state interfering in the affairs of the church? We certainly wouldn't want the state saying, for example, what kind of clothes you can wear to church.
But some clergy, including Monsignor Guy Massey in Brooklyn, argue that churches should be regarded as sanctuaries.
I think that I'm in favor of banning guns from church. I don't know why one would need a gun at any respective church to begin with. We in the Catholic Church support life. Guns on the street takes life even more cheaply.
The Baptist Tabernacle's website states, quote, "One of the sacred rights given to man by God Almighty is the right of self-defense," end quote, and cites the March 2009 shooting of a Baptist pastor in Maryville, Illinois as an example of escalating violence against churches. But does this contradict the Christian concept of turning the other cheek?
I do understand that there's a passage in Luke where Jesus recommended selling one's cloak in order to obtain a sword so that you could defend yourself.
Even so, Monroe claims the issue is primarily constitutional.
Basically what we have is behavior that's generally not illegal, but it's a crime to do it in a church. And that's such a blatant First Amendment issue. If you have a law that bans carrying firearms at a church, you're basically announcing to the world that churches are victim disarmament zones.
Still, Monsignor Massey points out there are alternatives.
If there is a question of protecting the doors of the church, then why doesn't the congregation or the parish or the pastor have a guard watching the doors?
In fact, the Baptist Tabernacle previously posted a trained guard for protection. And Monroe says individual pastors should retain the right to say whether or not they want weapons in their churches.
We're not, in this lawsuit, seeking to require churches to allow people to carry guns. What we're doing is seeking to get the government out of the equation. And it ought to be up to the churches to decide how their property is used.
But there's still one issue that worries Monsignor Massey.
Why would you need the gun unless you want to shoot the preacher? You know, I would be afraid if people were in my church with guns, they may think my homily is too long. We will keep a close eye on the story and let you know about the outcome. And we've also posted some more information about this over on our blog, as well as ways you can let us know what you think. Just head on over to currentsny.net and click on Riding the Wave.
Stay tuned, there's more Currents straight ahead. When we return, we'll have the day's headlines, including reaction to the Vatican's updated guidelines for handling sexual abuse by clergy.
Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Coming up later, a Haitian soccer team with a greater goal.
All right, but first let's have a look at the day's headlines. Yesterday, the Vatican released updated church guidelines to address sexual abuse of children by priests, and people have plenty to say about it. In Ireland, where the church has been dealing with widespread abuse charges, there was critical reaction to the news. Well, from the U.S., the director of the victims advocacy group Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests, or SNAP, said if these guidelines are followed, little will change and few will be protected. Meanwhile, the authors of a recently released book about Pope Benedict and the abuse crisis say the Pope has made it clear the church will continue to address this issue forthrightly. In other news from the Vatican, an official says female Anglican bishops are an enormous obstacle to Christian unity. Bishop Brian Farrell says Catholic, Eastern, and Orthodox churches see ordaining women as illegitimate abandonment of authentic tradition. He added that dialogue with the Church of England would continue. Well, from India, Catholics are protesting a government order to expel a missionary priest. Father Jim Borst has been in the country since 1963. He's accused by Muslim groups of using the school he runs as a cover for converting people.
Back in this country, the Archdiocese of St. Louis is investigating whether a 19th century priest may have interceded to cure a cancer patient. A woman diagnosed with cancer 3 times prayed to Father William Joseph Chaminade. When doctors operated, they found her tumor was not cancerous. If the case is deemed a miracle, it would be Father Chaminade's final step toward sainthood. The head of the U.S. Bishops' Pro-Life Committee is applauding a government move to ban federally funded elective abortions from 2 state health plans. But Cardinal Daniel DiNardo says that it illustrates the need for Congress to pass legislation to ban federal abortion coverage. And finally, the Pope will donate $250,000 to rebuild a school in Haiti. St. Francis de Sales School in Port-au-Prince was destroyed in the devastating earthquake in January. The Pope will make a separate donation to a local Caritas chapter. And we'll have another inspiring story from Haiti later on in the show, but stay tuned, there's more current straight ahead. Just ahead, should the church be a part of public debate? Bishop DiMarzio joins us to answer that question.
We have to be able in the public forum to be able to speak to the issues of our day. There would be those who would silence the church.
Welcome back. Earlier we heard some of the debate going on about bringing guns to church, and certainly packing heat is just one hot issue being debated in the public square. Immigration and abortion are 2 others that have lately involved the church.
And as we've seen and heard, sometimes the debate can get downright ugly. What can we do about the state of public discourse? Well, tonight we go into the deep with Bishop DiMarzio to discuss.
Well, Bishop DiMarzio, thanks once again for joining us here on Currents. We appreciate it. When we think about the political climate in America today, it's obviously very polarized. There's a lot of public discourse out there. Why do you think that is?
Probably is a lack of respect for persons. You know how important that is, that we respect other people, even if we disagree with them. But we should never come out kind of ad hominem at the individual person. Opinions are opinions, and beliefs are beliefs, but we need to respect people. And even if we think they're wrong, they still deserve respect, even if we don't agree with their opinions. But when that stops, then you really have a diminution of the kind of atmosphere there should be in a country.
Yeah, we saw it a lot, I think, recently when we started discussion about, or politicians started discussion about the health care bill back last year and then on into this year as well. And, there was a lot of, and it's not only on one side, I don't want to, make that assumption or that statement, but this is just as an example here, that, there were a lot of these protests where, people would have the signs with President Obama's picture, and like a Nazi emblem, or, him painted up like the Joker and that kind of thing. And that sort of thing happened in the previous administration when people would protest against President Bush as well. So there's a difference, I hear you saying, about, disagreeing with someone's opinions and then doing that, portraying the president as a Nazi or whatever. And where do you think it crosses the line? I mean, is there a line that you can say, okay, stop here and don't go any further?
Well, I'll go back and say, you know, the dignity of the human person is the whole fundamental understanding of our social theory as Catholics. And once we depart from that, everything goes wrong. This is why we talk about abortion as not being respectful of the dignity of a human person, that it is a human person that is the subject of an abortion, unfortunately. And down the line of all the things, you know, why we defend the immigrant. All of it because we have to defend the human person. It's an inviolate right. I think it's part of our Constitution also that we respect the human person. And when that respect is diminished in any way, then you get into all kinds of problems.
Why do you think people in this political climate can't seem to find common ground? Is it like someone, you know, yelling fire in a crowded theater and then everybody just kind of goes crazy? And then, you know, it's all confusion and nobody can kind of find their way. Do you think that has something to do with it?
Well, dialogue is the way you find common ground. And if you don't dialogue, you never find common ground. You don't know what the other person really thinks, what they believe in. Someplace in the middle, you can compromise or come to common ground, which is not really compromise, but where you believe everything, people believe the same thing, and you can build on that. But if you don't talk to one another, if you're all fighting or you're just calling people names, well, that never is going to happen. So dialogue is the key thing.
Yeah. How do you think the church can help in all this? I mean, you know, it's obviously plays a role in a lot of people's lives. How do you think the church can go about encouraging people to maybe turn things around as far as the discourse goes?
Well, first, we have to model the dialogue ourselves. We have to be willing and also able in the public forum to be able to speak to the issues of our day. There would be those who would silence the church, telling us we have nothing to say, or we should not say anything because we're church and somehow we're partisan to our own beliefs. Not that we're taking the part of any particular party, but anything religious is taboo. So we need to keep reaffirming that we have a place in the public forum, that we have a right as everybody to propose our values, our system of belief. We're not imposing it on anybody, but we want an opportunity, like everybody else has, in a democracy to be able to present what we believe to be true.
All right. Well, Bishop DiMarzio, thank you so much once again for joining us here on Currents. We appreciate it. Very interesting topic, especially in this political climate. And what you hear the bishop saying there is, sure, debate and disagree, because, I mean, everybody has different opinions. This is a free country, so yeah, of course you can debate and you can disagree, but be respectful of other people in the process. Don't just try to outshout the other person, because then you're never going to reach any common ground or any kind of agreement or move forward in any way. You're just going to stand there shouting at each other for forever.
Right, and that happens a lot with interfaith initiatives. I mean, we do a lot of that here on Currents, and there's a lot of debate going on right now about the Moss proposal on Ground Zero or in that area within a couple of blocks, and another one here in Sheepshead Bay. Those kinds of things are, I think, what we're talking about, is at least having the tolerance and, you know, respecting the dignity of the human person enough to at least hear both sides of whatever the debate is, and then you can make informed decisions from there.
Yeah.
As opposed to just, you know, rushing to judgment, being judgmental.
Sure, you know, hear them out. Don't call people names and all that kind of thing. But just, you know, be respectful of the other person, the dignity of the human person. That's what it comes down to. Yeah, absolutely.
It really is a catch-all.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, you can always read more of the bishop's thoughts in his weekly column in The Tablet. Just go over to thetablet.org.
Well, stay right where you are. We'll be right back. When we return, we'll meet a Haitian soccer team that may have lost their homes, but not their hope. We began this week with a look at Haiti on the 6-month anniversary of that island nation's deadly earthquake. But we end the week with another glimpse at how some from that country are not only surviving, but thriving.
Right, they're teenage girls with a lot on the ball. They play soccer, so it's the soccer ball. And CNN's Patrick Snell reports on how one American teenager with a very big heart is helping these girls score one important goal: a better life.
I have nowhere to sleep, no place to go. I'm basically living as is, day by day. Strangers helping and providing food when possible.
Most of the under-17 Haitian girls football team lost their homes in the earthquake that struck earlier this year. But Madeleine Delis's loss was considerably more devastating.
I've lost my parents, both my mother and my father. I had a sister, I lost her as well. I've lost everything.
But help is at hand. In fact, strangers helping out is just one reason why the Haitian squad is currently in the United States. They're in Florida to compete with around 200 other teams here at the Disney International Cup, where these passionate youngsters will get the chance to improve on recent results. On the field of play, they tried and failed to qualify for the Under-17 World Cup, conceding 12 goals in the process, including a 9-0 drubbing at the hands of the USA. But it was that defeat, that huge defeat, that would indirectly spark an incredible chain of events. On the US team that day, a 16-year-old American teenager with one very big heart.
We approached the locker room and went in crying, full of tears. Not one person was happy. Our coach was crying. We didn't talk about the match at all. We talked about the Haitians and how they were affected by playing us and how we should take something from that game beyond soccer.
With that in mind, Brianne Habelin created the Many Hearts One Goal Foundation, raising funds which have gone a long way in helping her Haitian counterparts make the trip.
Bree is very focused and very driven in everything that she does in life, and she took this cause and decided that she was not going to stop short of helping each and every one of the Haitian players have a better life.
Gaspard Delexis is the coach charged with putting a smile back on the girls' faces.
It's very inspiring for me that to know those girls, they are young, and I don't see them complain. They wake up and talk about what they don't have. Some of them don't have any shoes to put on the foot. They're sharing shoes to play. I never knew that, sharing shoes to play, okay? But they do, and they don't complain.
I'm so happy. I don't even know how to explain to you guys. My heart is beating so fast now. Not only I am happy, my family, my friends, my colleagues, my teammates, we all are happy to be here.
For these young footballers, this trip will provide memories to last a lifetime. Memories made possible by the kind-hearted generosity of one American opponent and all the good that would eventually come from a very heavy 9-0 defeat.
It's amazing that Bree there said that nobody was happy in the locker room afterwards because they beat the Haitian team so badly, and yet really what they were thinking about was what was inside, not what the score was.
Right, right. It's amazing. It's an amazing story of just those girls being so, you know, kind-hearted, and to want to reach out to people who have suffered so much, and to see those girls, to see the Haitian girls team walking through Disney World, you know, it's just amazing, like how different of a scene is that for them than where they've come from.
And also, I think it's peer-to-peer. When you have a 16 or 17-year-old girl on a team, you know, as a teenager here in America, if you're sort of middle class, you know that life can be challenging to begin with, right? But when you look at your peers in Haiti that have no parents left, no siblings left, no home left, kind of puts things in perspective and says, wait a minute, I might have things here a little bit better than some people, so what can I give back?
Right, right, yeah. And this is maybe a once-in-a-lifetime thing for these girls to be able to go to Disney World. And some families will take trips there every year and kind of take it for granted, but definitely not those girls.
Definitely not. Well, that is it for tonight. Remember, we are always online at currentsny.net, and you can always check us out on Facebook as well.
And if you have an idea for a story, maybe you just want to get in touch with us, you can drop us a line at currentsny.net. Until next time, I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night and a great weekend.